Hi, welcome to lesson 32 of the B2 course. Lesson 32 is a vocabulary lesson and our topic today is music. So my name's Stephanie, this is the upper intermediate B2 level and this is lesson 32. So in lesson 32 we're going to describe different musical genres. We will expand vocabulary to describe your taste in music, and we're going to focus on the pronunciation of borrowed words. Now, don't worry if you're not sure what this means. You will find out shortly with me. So, as always with a vocabulary lesson, it's a very good idea to have some way of recording, of storing the new words, whether that be electronically or by pen and paper, I don't mind, but it's a very good idea to have some way to note down the new words that we will meet today. Okay, so our topic is music, and this is a very important topic, obviously, if you're socialising in English, but also if you're studying for an exam such as IELTS. Music is a very common topic in the IELTS speaking exam. So what I've done in this lesson is I have included a lot of IELTS style questions. So when you see the discussion questions, these are typical questions that you might be asked in an IELTS speaking exam. As always, if you'd like to send in your answers for me to have a look at, please do so. You just need to send an email to Perfectly Spoken. And remember, in the subject box, if you put the course, so put B2 and the lesson 32, then it will come to me. Okay, so I think it's time to get started. And we're going to start with some discussion questions. So, who are your favourite bands or artists? How often do you listen to music? When was the last time you bought a song or album? And do you usually buy online or from a store? What do you think about illegally downloading music? How would you describe your country's traditional music? And can you tell me about a famous musician from your country? So again, with exams like IELTS, the questions would start in a very personal way. Who are your favourite bands? How often do you listen to music? But then they would expand out to include bigger topics. For example, downloading music and doing this illegally. What are your views? What do you think? So it's very important to consider these things, these topics, before the exam so that you can practice your answers. You can think about the type of vocabulary you can include to impress the examiner. Okay, so let's move on to some pronunciation. Now, a lot of words connected to music are borrowed from other languages. So by this I mean they've originated from another language, but we use them in English. So have a look at the words below. Where do you think they come from? Which language? And how do you think they are pronounced? So I won't read them for you because that would give you the answer. When you see the word, try to say it out loud. How do you think these words are pronounced? Okay, so good idea here to pause the slide. Try to say these words. How do you think you pronounce these words? Okay, let's have a look at the words together. So they fall in two groups. The first group are taken from Italian. We have cello, mezzo-soprano, and concerto. The rest of the words are taken from Greek. We have choir, orchestra, chorus, rhythm, microphone, and symphony. I'll read those again for you. So from Italian, we have cello, mezzo-soprano, and concerto. From Greek, we have choir, orchestra, chorus, rhythm, microphone, and symphony. Now, there are a lot of online dictionaries that you can use that do have a pronunciation part connected. Usually it's a symbol of a loudspeaker, and if you click on that, you can hear how the word is pronounced. If it's a good dictionary, it should give you a British English option and an American English option, because quite often the words are pronounced differently. One isn't better than the other, but they are different. And obviously, if you're going to be speaking in English, it's very important to get the pronunciation correct. And some words can be very difficult. You look at the word, you look at the spelling, but the pronunciation is different. Okay, well, let's have a think about what these words mean. So I've got 6 sentences, and there is a word missing from each sentence, one of the words from either the Italian or the Greek list. Can you complete the sentences? Number 1. The children didn't know the words to the verses, only the... Number 2. The will be performing at the concert. Number 3, she has no sense of and is a terrible dancer. Number 4, the will play their last concert tonight. Number 5, the stopped working so nobody at the back could hear the singer. And number 6, is a string instrument. So pause the slide and see if you can choose 6 words from our pronunciation list to complete the sentences. Okay, how did you do? Let's have a look at the answers together. Number 1, the children didn't know the words to the verses, only the chorus. Number 2, the choir will be performing at the concert. Number 3, she has no sense of rhythm and is a terrible dancer. Number 4, the orchestra will play their last concert tonight. Number 5, the microphone stopped working so nobody at the back could hear the singer. And number 6, a cello is a string instrument. Very well done if you managed to get those correct. And I hope you have practiced saying the words out loud as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part of the lesson where we are thinking about instruments. Okay. So I'm going to show you a group of instruments, but in each line there is one word which is the odd one out. And by this expression, odd one out, I mean it's different in some way to the other words. Can you identify which word is the odd one out? So in our first row we have guitar, piano, violin, and harp. In our second row, we have flute, oboe, cello, and clarinet. Row 3, trumpet, tuba, trombone, and bassoon. And in our fourth row, we have drums, keyboard, saxophone, and xylophone. pause the slide and see if you can identify which instrument is the odd one out and why. If you're not sure, have a look in a dictionary, look up the words. If you use an image search as well, that's a very easy way to identify what the instrument is. But which one is the odd one out in each row? Okay, how did you find that? Let's have a look at the answers together. Okay, so in the first row, we had guitar, piano, violin, and harp. Well done if you identified that the piano is the odd one out here. Guitar, violin, and harp all have visible strings. I know piano does have strings as well, but they're hidden often. So guitar, violin, and harp are stringed instruments that have visible strings. In row 2, the flute, oboe, cello, and clarinet. Flute, oboe, and clarinet are woodwind instruments, where a cello is a string instrument, so it's in a different section of the orchestra. Trumpet, tuba, trombone, and bassoon. Bassoon is the odd one out. Again, it's a woodwind instrument. The other three are brass. And in row 4, drums, keyboard, saxophone, and xylophone. Saxophone is the odd one out because it's a woodwind instrument, and the others are percussion. Really well done if you correctly identified the odd ones out there. Okay, so let's practice again with some IELTS style questions. Do you play an instrument? If you don't, what instrument would you like to play? Number 3, can you read music? Number 4, have you ever played in a band or orchestra? Number 5, have you ever sung in a choir? And number 6, how do you feel about performing in front of people? How does this make you feel? So again, very important to consider these questions. What would your answers be? Have a think. And again, if you'd like to send in your answers, you are very welcome to. Okay, let's move on to thinking about concerts. Have you ever been to a concert? What do you think the difference is between a concert and a festival? Who would you most like to see in concert? And what about in your country? Is it expensive to go to concerts in your country? What's the average price for a ticket? So some interesting topics to consider there. Often it might depend on the artist, on the band who's playing, as to how expensive the tickets are. But how expensive in your country? And is this something that you often do? Okay, let's have a look then at some words to describe different types of music. You'll notice that I have taken out some of the letters. What do you think these words are? So pause the slide and see if you can complete the gaps with the missing letters. They're all words that you could use to describe music. Okay, how many of those did you manage to get? Well, we'll have a look at the answers together. So in the first row, we had deafening. If it's so loud, it's deafening. It makes you feel deaf. Sing along, a song that you hear, maybe you're on the radio, maybe you're driving, and it makes you want to join in. You can say it's sing along. Repetitive, some songs It's repetitive. It feels like the same thing again, again, again. Relaxing. I think that's self-explanatory. Smooth. Soulful. Catchy. Catchy means something that you hear it once and it stays in your mind. You can't get rid of it. So maybe you hear a song in the morning and in the evening you're still thinking about the song. It's very catchy. Chilled, slow, live, upbeat, rhythmic, out of tune, acoustic, energizing, atmospheric, fast, and romantic. So lots of words there, lots of vocabulary that you can use to describe music. Well done if you managed to get all of those correct. So when we're describing music, we're thinking about different musical genres. What type of musical genre do you like to listen to? So there's lots and lots of different types of music. So I'm just listing some here. There's punk, rock, folk, indie, blues, classical, country, gospel, dance, techno, pop, hip hop, rap, heavy metal, R&B, soul, reggae, jazz. There's lots and lots and lots. And sorry if what you really like I haven't put here. Maybe you can add to the list of musical genres. There's lots of different types of music. Okay, what about you? So we've thought about different types of music. We've thought about adjectives to describe music. Let's see if you can complete some sentences about you. I'm really into. I always listen to it when I'm feeling. I like it because it makes me feel. On the other hand, I can't stand. I think it sounds. Isn't really my taste, but I'm a big fan of. I would love to see them live. Now, how would you complete these sentences? Thinking about you. And again, thinking about exams like IELTS exams, but also in a social context. It's very common to talk about music, to talk about what you like, how it makes you feel, and also what you don't like. That can be just as an interesting discussion as well. Okay, so I'm going to give you some suggestions here. So when you have these sentences, I'm really into, then you need to put a genre. We looked at this. I'm really into jazz. I'm really into pop. I'm really into R&B. I always listen to it when I'm feeling, you need an adjective. When I'm feeling happy, sad. I like it because it makes me feel upbeat, positive. On the other hand, I can't stand, again, you'd need to put in a genre. I think it sounds, and then choose a negative adjective. Again, the next one, you need to start with a genre. Isn't really my taste. This is a much more polite way of saying you don't like it. If you say I can't stand, it's quite strong. But if you say it isn't really my taste, it's much softer. But I'm a big fan of, and then you need to put in your favourite singer or band. I would love to see them live. So as always, if you'd like to send in your answers to me, please feel free to do so, and I would be very happy to look at them and give you some feedback. Thank you very much for taking part in Lesson 32. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a very nice topic to talk about. And I look forward to seeing you in Lesson 33, which is the second of our grammar lessons on the gerund and infinitive form. So the lesson 31, we started looking at this topic and we will continue in lesson 33. I look forward to seeing you then. Goodbye.